Now, if you really want to master cold turkey and eliminate toxic habits from your life, check out our free step-by-step course. From start to finish, break digital habits and protect yourself from temptations. Focus on what matters and finally achieve your goals. So even using blockers, can't you really get rid of your addiction? No matter how precisely you configure filters or how many sites and keywords you block, you still manage to bypass everything and eventually relapse, feeling bad afterward and of course regretting it. We've received many messages in cases like this, so we developed and tested a powerful method that finally blocks all adult websites, including those without explicit keywords in their URL or in their title, and even legitimate sites that actually contains adult content. It takes about 15 minutes to set up, but it can save you countless hours along with guilt and regret. Works with Firefox, Safari, and any Chrome-based browser. Using the free version of Cold Turkey, though the pro version offers a little bit more flexibility. Before moving forward, just make sure you have Cold Turkey installed and properly set up, and that you already followed our first video on how to block anything using Cold Turkey. The following method is only necessary if you are still consuming adult content, video games, social media, or whatever you are trying to stop. But after watching and setting up the first video on our series about Cold Turkey. Otherwise, don't watch this video, it will waste your time and confuse you more than anything else. That being said, let's get started. So if you followed our previous video, you should have these three blockers active by now. The adult content blocker one, the weak moment blocker, and the emergency craving blocker. So you have those three well set up, but apparently it's not enough as you still manage to get around them, right? The method is quite simple actually. First, you block access to the entire internet, because if the whole internet is blocked, then so is all adult content internet or video games or whatever, because everything is blocked. So whatever you want to block is also blocked. Next, you create a whitelist of legitimate websites that you actually need. Normally this would be really time consuming and precise, but by exporting your browser history and ranking sites by visit frequency, you can actually whitelist 1000 legitimate websites at once in 2 minutes. This way you're almost guaranteed to include the sites that you use daily, but also the less frequent ones, like tax related, for example. Additionally, we're gonna allow a small window of, let's say, 5 minutes for visiting websites outside that whitelist, so you can still access any site if needed, but the short term strongly reduces the risk of relapse, considering that your existing adult content blocker is still here, making it almost impossible to lose control during those 5 minutes. Finally, if you need more than 5 minutes for a new website that you consider as legit, you can simply add it to the whitelist, but in a really highly protected way, so you can't just add any website on a whim. If that makes sense to you, let's see together step by step how to create this white castle system. But first, open this page as it contains link and resources we're gonna use in this tutorial. Now, before moving further, we would invite you to actually test your digital bad habits to see if it's dangerous, to see if it's an addiction. This will help you to gain self-awareness, assess your addiction levels compared to others, and to get personalized insights from addiction experts. This test is completely free and anonymous. You will receive the results by email. It's really easy to do. You can do it in 4 minutes. At the end, you will get a score out of 100, and you will know what's going well and what's not, what could be dangerous and what to watch out for. You will also get, most importantly, insights from digital addiction experts on what to do and how you can improve things. Alright, so let's get started and open Cold Turkey, go to blocks, new block, and add those characters. It's saying to Cold Turkey block every URL that contains a dot, basically the full internet. You're gonna add it, give it a name, save it, and here you get a block that blocks the full internet. So the advantage is that you have no chance of missing an adult content website because they are all blocked. Everything is blocked. Of course, we want to be able to use our computer normally. What we're gonna do is to add websites that we think we need, we think they are safe, we think they are legit, and we're gonna add them based on your history, because your history contains a record of websites that you usually use. Supposing that you browse to the content of forbidden website using incognito mode, they won't be in your history, so your history should be clean, meaning containing only websites that are safe. This will give us a list that we can use as website exceptions and give to Cold Turkey. So if you think about it, it's a reverse logic. Instead of trying to block the billions of toxic websites out there, we take the opposite approach and we only allow websites that we think are healthy. And why this should normally takes a lot of times, we instead base it on our use. So if you have an history, let's say then more than 1 month, but ideally it should be at least 1 year, you should that the websites that you browse daily or monthly or yearly will be in this list that we also called the whitelist, by the way. And so that your internet browsing with the block active will be like normal, because you're using the website that you usually use, so you won't feel the difference. So we created this page so you can simply copy paste to find your history folder based on your browser and based on your OS. So in this tutorial, I'm going to use Firefox, but if you use, let's say, Chrome, you copy this path, for example. It's quite simple. You just copy it and paste it in the Windows Explorer, and you want, of course, to replace your name here by your name. So if your username is John, you just replace it by John. You have 2 or maybe more folders, but we don't care. We go in search and we're gonna type places.sql. Of course, if you use Chrome, it is going to be different. It's gonna be named history. Every browser has a different name. Here we want to take this file, places.sqlite. You can see it also, it's usually the biggest file. We're gonna copy it. It's important to copy it and to not use the original file and put it somewhere where you can find it again. Now this file contains your full history data. We're gonna need a little free software to open it and to rank your history based on the number of visits for each website. Let's see how to do that. I'm going to go back to the web page and click on download and install DB browser for SQLite. Here you want to choose, so I'm using Windows. I'm gonna download it for Windows. Alright, and when the download is finished, you can process the installation. Click on next, and install it. Alright, now that it's finished, we're gonna go back to our history file and we're gonna right click, open with, more apps, and here you want to look for another app on this computer and look for DB browser for SQLite. Click on open, and the browser will open the file. Now you may see something more or less like this. It doesn't matter. You want to go in execute SQL, and here we're going to copy paste a code that you can find on the same page. So if you're using Safari, Chrome, or Firefox, choose the code that corresponds to it. I'm using Firefox, so I'm going to copy paste this code right here. Basically, it's counting the number of total visits and ranking all the domain names, so it's removing the same domain name but different URL. So for example, if you have google.com and google.com/images, it's going to create only one google.com, which is way better for cold turkey and give us way less result for the same efficiency. So at the end of the day, it saves a little bit of CPU power. Here, something else that is important is the limit that you can change for how many websites you want to output. So now I put 1000, so it's going to output the 1000 most visited websites based on my history. I'm going to run it. And here you can see in this beautiful tab all the domain name that I browse the most with the number of total visits. Of course, this is not 100% accurate, but we don't care. We want just a big picture of the most used website. You can choose, for example, if you scroll down and realize that some websites you only used them once, to just cut the line from here. Or you can say, I want to allow myself to visit websites that I have visited in the past at least twice, so I'm sure I'm going to need them in the future. It's up to you, but what matters is that you include enough websites to feel comfortable browsing and not too limited by this method. Otherwise, it's not going to work for you in the long term. Now, once we have it, we're going to copy paste it. So for this demonstration, I'm going to copy paste only the top 100 websites, and I'm going back to Cold Turkey website exceptions. I'm going to click on import text file. I want to right click, new text document. I'm going to call it whitelist. I want to edit it, copy paste, and here you go, you have it, import it, and suddenly Cold Turkey is loading all the website exceptions, aka your whitelist. You want to save it, and now you can activate the block. Now let's try to load a random website and see how Cold Turkey behave. Yeah, you can see it's immediately blocked by the white castle. But if I try to load a website that I've used in the past, like Netflix, it's working pretty well. Of course, if I don't want Netflix, I can just remove Netflix, but you get the point. So let's try to load gmail.com. It's working. Let's try to load CNBC. Oh, CNBC is not working. So probably it was not in my history because most likely I have never used these websites. However, I think CNBC is legit and I would like to use it. What we can do to allow this white castle to be protective but also allow some flexibility is to go back and click on no breaks, and here I want to go in sessions. So this is a new really powerful mod that started with the 4.6 version of Cold Turkey, the pro version, so you're gonna need that one for it to work. What you can do, for example, is to allow 3 sessions every half an hour, and each session should be a maximum of 5 minutes. So basically you're saying to Cold Turkey, hey, allow me please to use a website that is not on the whitelist for a maximum of 5 minutes 3 times every half hour. You can of course reduce that, so once every half hour. And if you click on how does it work, you can see that this will let you use the website and apps about 3 times within the past hour if you selected 3 times per hour. However, the session starts when you start using the blocked website or app, so the countdown starts at this point. But the sessions end as soon as you use a website or app that isn't blocked for 1 or 2 minutes. So if, for example, now I'm on CNBC, I'm going to open CNBC and it's going to work for 5 minutes unless I move to a legit website for 1 or 2 minutes, and then it's going to end the allowance. However, that's where it gets dangerous, is that if you end the 5 minutes, it's going to start the other session. So if you allow yourself, for example, 3 times of 5 minutes every half hour, unfortunately, you're going to be able to use 15 minutes in a row, which starts to be a little bit dangerous. So I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend 1 or 2 sessions maximum. Fortunately, for now, at least we cannot put less than 5 minutes. It would be interesting to get 1 or 2 minutes, so that way we can get an information on the website, because most websites we don't browse them for more than 2 minutes. It's just the time to get the information and to move somewhere else, unless it's a website that we really like, and if it's legit we can add it to our list. So for now I would recommend you to stay with those settings. You can of course play around them to find the best settings that works for you, but that's what I recommend right now, because that's what worked for most of our participants. Now, talking about legit websites, let's say I realize CNBC is actually a website I want on my list. So I can just go back in website exceptions and add CNBC.com, and now I add it. Now the problem doing so is that I can add any website at any time. I certainly don't want that, because I'm going to be able to cheat again, and we don't want that. So we're going to protect this lock, allow only a certain time range unlocking. So for example, let's say I want to unlock this from 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 5 minutes. So why only 5 minutes? Well, it means that 5 minutes every day I will be able to add any websites. So what I will recommend you is to open a text document and make a list of the website that you would add to this whitelist. So that way, once per day, you can just open that document, copy paste quickly the website that you want to add, and move on. If you open this window too much, you increase the chance that you're gonna cheat. You increase the chance that you have time to find weird websites that are not locked by the adult content blocker. You increase the chance that your mind start to wonder how to cheat. This 5 minutes window is really tight, and it's done to avoid this kind of perversion, let's call it like this. And that's not enough. We're gonna save that, and I'm gonna lock it. For now, you can see that this is going to be blocked for the full day until tomorrow, and it's active, so it's working. But I'm not going to start there. I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to call this one afternoon, and rename the other one by morning. Why am I doing this? Well, because I want to change how it's locked. I want to unlock it also to create another window, and I want to create this window, let's say at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and I want also only 5 minutes of allowance. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to activate it. So what's the point of having twice the same blocker? What's the point? We could think it's overcomplicating things for nothing, but think about it for 1 second. Once this blocker is unlocked, even if it's just for 5 minutes, that's enough time for your dark genius in you to pop in and deactivate completely the blocker, or impulsively add a forbidden website that isn't covered by your adult content blocker's keyword filter. If that happens, you are exposed, and once the enemy is inside the castle, you are doomed. But with a double door system, a sort of antechamber to protect you, even if impulsivity lets one enemy through the first gate, we still have a second door to stop him. The time gap between the two gives your rational brain a chance to cancel a regrettable decision. If you need more safety, you can also open the doors only once per week. The point is to actually prevent your impulsive cravings to open the door to any harmful decision. And if anyway the website turns out to be legitimate, you can simply add it to both blockers exception list. It might take a bit more time, but that delay adds a crucial layer of defense. Now here are a few tips with this method for it to work perfectly and not be annoying. Some search engines are very safe. You can whitelist them and use them to look for most information, so you don't feel limited by the fact that you cannot look for an information when you need it. You just need to look for somewhere else, and if you find a safe place, then you can have as many information as you want. Also, even if they are not always accurate, ChatGPT and other AI tools are trying their best to deliver safe and accurate information. You can also find tutorials, comparative buyer tests, and so on using them, which is really much better than losing yourself on websites or allowing website that eventually you will find forbidden content on it. Also, it's a way more controlled environment, so you have less temptation. I'll give you an example. If you go on YouTube to watch a tutorial, okay, really legit, but on the suggestion you see videos about something else or something that is tempting, and boom, you're relapsing. This doesn't happen using this controlled environment, and I would strongly encourage you to build a full system including those tools along with cold turkey, so you won't feel limited, you won't even feel the difference until you actually need it. And you can also add whitelisted keyword. For example, you're learning how to drive a boat. Well, you can whitelist any URL including words like sailing, boats, surrounded by wildcards, but just make sure that none of them can be hijacked to find forbidden content. So the truth is, combining whitelisted websites and safe browsing tools, chances are that you're not gonna feel cold turkey is actually preventing you to access 99.99% of the web. Yet, like rain jacket in your bag, you'll feel it's here when the storm will come. Alright, finally, keep in mind that even though this method is just an external tool that greatly reduces the chance of yielding and relapsing, it doesn't heal your cravings or the deeper tensions you may have regarding your toxic habit. That's why we also combine quitting with psychological acts and spiritual techniques to actually break the addiction and drastically reduce the struggle. We've been compiling and testing this knowledge, and it has helped heavily addicted people quit for good. The result is an online course, The Digital Purge, designed to break any screen habit or digital addiction, gently and smartly. Link in the description, including a 10% discount. Enroll today, don't spend one more day in that toxic life having those toxic habits. Solution exists and they can break it, so we're waiting for you there. See you.